Kathy. Hope you're doing well. Hope the pain isn't too bad today. Hope they hasten your pain relief soon, quickly, timely manner. They're taking their time, and I'm not happy about it. All right, so it's just you and me tonight. We'll see what happens. We can talk about anything we want to talk about, because if it's 50-50, you can have as much say as I have to say about it. Why not? Oh, somebody else joined us. Anyways, it's 6:01 p.m. Hey, Chris. It's 6:01 p.m. It's May 12th. It's 2021. Amazing. When you woke up the very first time, it was like 1955, 56, something like that, right? For me, it was 52. I'm a little older than most of you, right? And here it is. Hi, Lisa. Here it is, 2021. A lifetime. Pop. Gone, baby. You know, here we are. We're playing the back nine. You know, got a couple holes left to play. Let's make them count, man. Listen, everybody is a star, right? If you're not a star in somebody else's, in that world over there, then you'll be a star over here. You know, essentially, you are what you believe you are. Now, if you're crazy, that ain't necessarily true. Afternoon to you too, Ray Dean. And ain't necessarily true if you're crazy. But for the most part, we are loved and cared for by others. And we occupy a space and a place in their lives that makes us a star. Hi, Becky. So, you know, we need to treat ourselves like the stars we are, you know, to some extent. I ain't going to go out and put my name on Hollywood Boulevard or anything like that. But you know what? I have to regale myself sometimes. 1966, you're such a young puppy. My God, woman. You know, I've talked about it. Today I'm talking about it, about being a star. Before I talked about it being, oh, yeah, man, that thought just zipped by. But essentially what I've said is, you know, we are important to others. Oh, I know what I was going to say. We're all cool kids. The only distinction today from when you were in high school, if you weren't a cool kid in high school, was you didn't designate yourself as a cool kid. There were kids who were eminently as cool as anybody else, right? But nobody knew they were cool because they were little shrunken in because they felt like they weren't cool. But if you'd have visited them in their homes, if you'd have seen the posters on the walls, if you'd have looked at the music they were listening to, you would have said, wow, this is a cool kid, right? So here we are. Lisa was born right about the time that we were just jamming, right? We were jamming to the hits, 1968. We were doing the Democratic National Convention. We were ducking tear gas and ass whippings from the Chicago Police Department. That was a big year, 1968. 1966 was a prelude to lots of things, including, you know, multiple assassinations of important people. I mean, I'm sorry you guys missed the boat, but you got on, you didn't get on that boat, but you got on the next boat. And what happened was, while you guys are 14, 15 years younger than me, it makes no difference now. Today, 15 years means nothing. When I was 15, it meant everything. I wouldn't hang out with you. When I was 30, I wouldn't hang out with you, right? When I'm 40, maybe 50, you know, the older we get, the ratio, the proportion of distinction between our dates of birth begins to take on less import because the ratio changes. You know, I'm no longer, 15 years older than you, which is, 100%. Then I'm 50%, and then I'm 25%. Hello, Donna. Nice to see you. Kathy, you were born in 56, 58. So what? I'm I'm 52. I guess right now I'm the oldest until maybe Mark and Ann show up. I not Ann won't be older than me, but Mark might be. Yeah, so age becomes less of a factor, and so does how we are perceived, right? In high school, even possibly grade school, but I didn't experience so much grade school. In high school, perception be, took on a great deal of prominence. I didn't want to be denigrated for being the smallest kid or the kid with the biggest nose or any of that stuff. It hurt. It made me protective and defensive, but it means nothing today. Nothing. And I am a designated cool kid, and I'm a designated star, right? Self-designated. I give an example how this can work in your daily affairs. Did I ever tell you about the time I got a call from Parkland Hospital, Memorial Hospital? It's the county hospital, Dallas County Hospital. They were looking for a Buddhist chaplain. They got my number. They called me. Where could they find a Buddhist chaplain? I said, well, I didn't know what the deal was, but I said, yeah, you could talk to me. And he said, oh, where were you certified? I said, I'm not certified anywhere. Where did you get your theology degree? I said, yeah, I haven't got any of that, And he seemed perplexed. And he was with the hospital. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, you can go look for a monk, but they're all from Thailand, and they're going to say no because they're not comfortable in public speaking English. You can have me. Well, where did how did you become a chaplain? I said, I designate myself a chaplain. He said, how does that work? I said, we don't have a process in Buddhism to designate you as a chaplain. Thus, I'm designating me a chaplain because I have the training, I understand the nature of it, and so I have all the qualifications. He said, that'll do. And I became a volunteer chaplain at the county hospital. And I've been acting in accordance with the chaplain-esque demands ever since, going to bedsides of various hospitals when they've contacted the Buddhist temple. And the Buddhist temple says, if you're looking for somebody who speaks English, please call Ken Goldberg. And my wife, Kathy, was 22 years younger than me, my last wife. All my wives were younger than me. So anyways, it's all about creating perception. We can create the perception that we are a star. I can do that to a limited degree right here in the podcast. I could ballyhoo my many accomplishments, and by the time I'm finished, if I do it right and I do it well, you might brag your friends. I've got a friend. He's a celebrity, right? I can put up the pictures of me and Jerry Spence and me and Dick Cavett and me and Robert Shapiro and me and, oh my gosh, I've met a lot of significant people, right? I could probably create the image. It's not even an illusion. It's an image. There's these people that create the illusion of being self-help gurus. And most of them are they're not particularly, they don't have anything that you don't have. It's kind of like, meeting the wizard, right? And the wizard says, well, the only thing you don't have that others have is a heart. And so I'm going to give you this heart. And the only thing that you don't have, you have courage. What you don't have is you don't have a medal, and on and on and on. So all we have to do is kind of go to the wizard within and say, I'm as smart as I'm as. I am not particularly smart. I don't rank high on intellect. I rank very high in common sense, and I'm doing the ranking. I read a lot when I was young, but I never went to college. Hi, Sean. Welcome. I never went to college, so I'm lacking a liberal arts education. By that, I mean, I don't know much about the sciences or about English literature or biology. I just don't have a broad education. I have an education as somebody who dropped out of high school when he was 16, who went back and got a university without walls degree without going to into classes, and then subsequently went to law school. So my academic knowledge is almost exclusively in the area of the law. If you were to ask me about, English literature, except for what I read as a child, I can't help you. But so my intelligence quotient is could be challenged at any moment, because if it is dependent upon education, well, I'm going to fall short. But hey, listen, I've been around brilliant people. Okay, they didn't have much on me in terms of social skills, right? I had better social skills than a lot of smart people, because a lot of smart people didn't have, they had smarts and they had good education, but hell, they didn't have common sense. When I was in law school, I chose to a study group. The first study group I did the first semester, that was okay. That was a group of guys. I don't even think there might have been a woman in it or two. I don't remember them. But the second semester, I got hip to the fact that there were two women in my class that were really smart people. I found out that one had gotten like 100% on the LSAT, the law school admission test, and the other one was also a high score. And the two of them were fairly introverted. I reached out to them and I asked them to be part of a study group with me. And they said, yeah, okay. So we studied together and we had the same classes. We had constitutional law together. We had criminal procedure together. We had contracts. Contracts? I don't know. Anyways, doesn't matter. You don't care. What you care about is, I asked this woman, Molly Kane. I asked Molly, I said, why do you never raise your hand in class? And she didn't want to offer answers because she didn't want to get engaged and be wrong. Her aversion to being wrong overwhelmed her in class, even though she was smarter than me. My hand was up in class all the time. In fact, constitutional law, which was one of the more difficult classes, in that, unlike most classes, which were 3-hour credits, this was a 4-hour credit, and it's the Constitution, man. They were looking for good answers from law students. So the semester ended, and I found out that the constitutional law professor had no research assistant. And I didn't particularly want to be a research assistant, but it would jump me over all the people in line for a study carrel. I didn't even know what a study carrel was. I don't know if any of you know what a study carrel is, unless you went to college or something, but it was a space in the library that you could leave books and you could study. And it's just a little cubicle, really, right? And there's usually 2 or 3 in a row after row. And there weren't enough for all the students. So there are 3 things. If you were on law review, you automatically were assigned a carrel. If you were a research assistant, you were automatically assigned a carrel. If you had none of these accolades, then you put in for a lottery. And if you got the lottery ticket, you could do it. Meantime, there were some study carrels that were open every night. You could just go to them, first come, first serve. I wanted my own carrel because I wanted to be able to leave some books there. I just wanted to be able to go to the same spot. So I went to Professor Sang. He was the constitutional law professor. And I said to him, hey, you don't have a research assistant. He said, no, I don't. I said, well, could I be your research assistant? You get $10 an hour and you get unlimited Xerox card or copy card. So he said, sure, and then he said to me, by the way, what grade did you get on the constitutional law final exam? Because teachers don't know what grade you got, because it's blind grading in law school. They're not allowed to know who they're grading. So there can't be a sexist bent. There can't be a racial bent. They're not supposed to have. All they know is, here's the question they asked. Here's the answer they expected. So I said, well, I got a B. And he looked at me, he said, really? He said, I'm surprised. He said, you were so active in class. And I was. But the test, it's a 4-hour test, was hard. And I did my best. And I'm not really good at essays. And it was a lengthy essay test. So I got a B. But, anyways, I got to be his research assistant. Um, so here's what I'll tell you about law school. You know, people have this expectation that lawyers should be smarter than the average bear. But the reality is that lawyers are just more disciplined. Well, I should say law students tend to be more disciplined than others because there's a great deal of discipline involved in getting a law degree. You have to read your ass off. You cannot, I mean, I guess there's another way around. I should say, if you're going to participate in the Milu, you better read. Read and read and read, and you got to analyze. And, some of these people could not analyze the way out of a paper bag, but they put in enough time and effort. They got through it. That's what I discovered is I'm talking to my fellow law students. A lot of them were better educated than me, but they just weren't smarter than me. How do I know? Because I engaged with them. I listened to them in class. I know how often they were, offered up and they were right or they were wrong. Some of them, they shared their grades with me because you had to share your grade for anybody to know what you got. So, when it comes to depth and breadth of education, I don't have it, but I can tell you I'm smart enough to get along. And when I'm in the company of bright people, I'm not intimidated because we're all stars, man. We all got whatever we got and whatever Kathy's got. Kathy was raised very different from me. I know Kathy's home life from the age of about 13 on. I was dear friends with her brother. The household was, how should we say, essentially chaotic. And while her brother, I don't know about Kathy, but I know her brother Gary, brilliant, absolutely void of a structured education, completely self-taught man from probably kindergarten on, much smarter than me. But I can tell you that given the household that Kathy was in, it was hard to learn. The environment was not conducive. When Kathy was preteen, people were crawling through the window in the middle of the night to hang out, watch TV, and smoke weed with her brother. Kathy couldn't possibly have found that to be an environment conducive to being an A student. I'm sure of it, right? She may argue otherwise. My extensive reading as a child did help me a lot. It helped me get through law school because I knew how to read. Here's some advantage to having read a lot when you're a child. So I'm reading a law book, and it doesn't happen often, but sometimes you just misread a line. And what I found from having read a lot is something told me that line wasn't right. Something wrong with that. I'd go back and see that I'd misread a word, I'd left a word out, or whatever. So in that regard, it helped me. It also helped me during a test, especially the multiple question test, because I could read a test question pretty quickly, and my mind was quick enough to analyze and go, oh, hell, I don't know the answer, move on. I didn't spend a lot of time trying to read and understand the question. For the most part, I read and understand. Didn't mean I knew the answer, but I wasn't laboring over the question because I'd read so much. So we're all stars. I've been around Kathy. I've been around Rachel. I'm talking about in person. I've been around Mark and Ann and Chris and Becky. I don't even know if Becky and I have ever been in the same room, but, we've chatted, Chris I've been around, and Ray Dean, my God, Ray Dean and I have spent much time. Donna, you and I haven't spent a lot of time together, any time together. And Sean, I haven't spent any time. But here's the other thing. Social media gives me some insight into people. If you're posting inane stuff, then I can usually extrapolate that you're probably half inane. If you're posting stuff that's pretty sharp, Sean's got this, she's got these great posts that she does every day, and it's clear. It gives you an insight into how her mind is operating. And then you see somebody say something weird in response to a meme she posts, and the way Sean reacts to the meme tells you she's usually smarter than the crazy person that posted behind her meme. So this is it. So in other words, it's clear to me. Everybody's got something for somebody. Everybody's a star to somebody else. Now, that can be critically damaged at times because sometimes we close ranks as a family. And so we become less important out here, more important in here in this microcosm we call nuclear family. And the problem is if the nuclear family disintegrates, somebody dies or you get divorced, you often find yourself bereft of that kind of community where you are perceived in the best light. I'll use myself an example. I got divorced after a short-term marriage. The relationship had gone on for 17 years. The children that I adopted were part of my life for those 17 years. And upon a divorce, my world had gotten smaller as I had to raise these two kids, right? I mean, they knew me at the PTA, okay, but and they knew me at AA. AA kept me from going under when my life has disintegrated into chaos. AA has been a real balance because in the 13 years I've been back in AA or back in 12-step recovery, I can say this: when the rest of it goes to shit, there is still this cadre of people that I have communication with as long as I keep going to meetings and interacting with them, and they will bolster you in the worst of times. It helps if you don't get drunk, if you want to get the benefit out of it, that's for sure. But if you stay with these people that are working on a spiritual, intellectual, and emotional well-being, you kind of get the goodies from that. And I did. So when the divorce came, or even pre-divorce, just when all of a sudden, and literally all of a sudden in my life, the relationship was over, I didn't have the broad world I'd had as a single guy. But what I had was a pretty significant, I had my old friends and I had my relatively new friends from 12-step recovery, and they didn't hesitate to be helpful and supportive. So, when we denigrate ourselves, when we demote ourselves from being a star or being a cool kid to being something less than, we are only doing ourselves a disservice. We're looking in the wrong section of the magazine for information. You wanted health, but I don't know, you went out and you bought a motorcycle magazine. Don't do that to yourself, or I won't do it to myself, and I'm not talking about a self-help. This isn't about self-help. You don't need to read, although it wouldn't hurt to read Eckhart Tolle and Jack Kornfield and some other great writers on how you can view the world in a healthy and wholesome manner. But this is an internal dialogue, and this internal manifestation this internal notion of ourselves needs to be manifested in the way we behave, in the way we embrace or reject others who don't perceive us in a good light, or who do care about us in that very light, right? So I picked out everybody as a star. I trip and stumble constantly in my perception of self. I have this past year, the past 5 years, maybe more than in any time in my life since being a teenager, I've tripped and stumbled into what I've told you is called what I call situational depression, because whatever leaning, whatever inclination I had to see myself through the eyes of others led me to looking at myself with lesser esteem. when I was in therapy way back in my first marriage, I think that was 83, 84, landed up in counseling. And I was feeling pretty good, man. I had been in recovery for 2 years since 82. I had a pretty good sense of self. I was working 12 steps. I was going to counseling for a while. And that counseling came to an end when the counselor moved out of state. So when this relationship started to just crumble, I saw this woman I really respected, and we began therapy together. And I said to her one day, and she met my then wife, and she was actually giving us both counseling after the couples thing didn't work out. And I said, I was telling her how my self-esteem was just severely damaged from this marriage. On what she said was really insightful. She said that when you are in an intimate relationship like that, you really care about somebody. You're looking into a mirror. You see this person as they see you, and if they have a distorted vision of you, then you will begin to see yourself in that distorted mirror. And that makes sense to me if it didn't make sense to you. So I was seeing myself through her eyes, and her eyes, she had damages about relationships with men. So I was a male. It wasn't about me. It was really never about me. And we all discovered that. She discovered it. I discovered it. And therapists discovered it over a period of time. Had nothing to do with me. She had come to the marriage damaged. I was looking into that vision of myself, and it was damaging my self-esteem. So I've tried over the years to look into better mirrors, man. When I go to the fun house and I'm standing in front of one of those concave mirrors or whatever it is, I don't sit there and go, oh my God, look how fat I am now, and leave the amusement park and start a diet. Or nor do I think to myself, I'm tall and skinny. My God, I must have grown 12 inches since I got the amusement park, right? I recognize it's not me. It's an image, and it's distorted. It's a distorted image. So we, all of us universally, are best off when we are in the companionship of people that see us in the best light. I can't always see you in the best light, nor do you need me to see you in the best light. What's important is that we all have, I say we, as if I got a mouse in my pocket. Like, you don't need to do any of this shit. I'm just throwing it out there. So allow me to use we, us, they, them tonight, even though I myself rebel against anybody using those pronouns in my company. I don't need to be important to you. What I'm saying is which serves us well to be important to a group of people who we are close to, whom know us and whom we know. And so when trouble is afoot, these are the people that know how to pump us up. I have my little world of people that can rely upon me, and I can rely upon them. And they're important to me, and I recognize their import to me, and I don't turn my back on that kind of nutrition. Okay? So I don't drink alcohol, partly because even though I'm an alcoholic, I also recognize alcohol is empty calories. They have no nutritional value. Everything has calories, and our body converts calories into energy, but it doesn't do that with the calories in alcohol. Alcohol are dead calories. They serve no value in our body. You cannot convert alcohol calories into energy. Don't ask me why. I don't understand science, but I spent a lot of time in alcohol classes with medical doctors. Perfect points made about looking through the other's mirror. Yeah, yeah. And there are all kinds of stories. There's all kinds of things you can read about seeing ourselves through the eyes of other. Isn't there one about God? I see God through the same eye that he sees me. You know, something about the log in your eye. Some of you probably know what that phrase is. That's, anyways, those two phrases. I don't know if they're relevant. So, so the topic, the theme of the night was everybody is a star, but stars fall. You know, celebrities fall from fame, and some are what's the word? I don't know. They come back. Not Edward, Downey. What's his first name? Downey Jr. He's somebody. He was a star, man, strung out like a banshee, boy. And I thought, man, this dude is over. All these arrests and this drug addiction, prevalent drug addiction, you know, this continually wiping himself out with relapses. And yet he's made a resurgence, and you watch him and you know, you're fascinated by him. I mean, he's a good actor. And I appreciate that. And it's the tale, right? That you can fall from the heights. You just got to dust yourself back up. Well, they say you haven't failed until you stop trying. So I sometimes have to go to the well and drink the clear, crisp, non-toxic water. I have drank from wells that were poisoned. That first marriage was becoming poisonous. I was drinking from that well and it was making me sick. And I make people sick. And you may have people you make sick, but for every person you make sick, you probably make 3 feel better about themselves. I know some of you lead a fairly reclusive life for whatever reasons. And it doesn't matter what the reasons. I know you do. I know that whether it's transportation issues, emotional issues, psychological, physical, whatever it is, you know, you've got a disability. You can't really get out and do the deal. Doesn't matter. You're reclusive. But I watch, I see the way certain people interact with you on Facebook. I think of Ray Dean as kind of a reclusive individual, you know, and I also understand some of the reasons why Ray Dean is more reclusive than I am. But then I watch the way Kathy or me or Cindy react to her post, and I'm like, you know, she's got a lot of love. May not be a lot of people. Ray Dean, I know this for a fact. She can argue with me if she wants. She don't know as many people as I know. She does not run wild in the streets like I do. You know, she's more of a homebody, and yet, in the absence of all the things that I do and say, Ray Dean's got this core of people she could call at 3 a.m. They're going to take the call. They're going to do what they can. That's all you need is a couple of people to take that call any time of night or day. And if you don't have that, you ought to get out and get it. My daughters don't have that. They got me. They can call me at 3 a.m. I keep telling them, girls, you got to make friends. You got to make friends now, because when you're 40, you want to have friends you've known for 20 years. You got to stop messing around. They rely upon each other too much. And like their mother doesn't have friends. And they don't really have a lot of friends. Maybe in Korea, they're out there making friends. But historically here, they just never were good. That's not a social skill they've got that much of. And dad is always like, you know, you need to do that. Now, part of this is my fault, by the way. I'm the one that moved them while they were in high school. I moved them when they were young, in grade school, before middle school, and they took that really well. But then when we moved back to Dallas, then that was disruptive to them. But it turns out the friends they thought they had in Arizona have let them down significantly over the years. Kathy is copping to also being a recluse. And again, Kathy, what I know about you is the pandemic, transportation issues, pandemic issues. But when we get together, you're effervescent. When we got together in Hyde Park 2 years ago, you were right there with us. I don't know, maybe that's because Marcus was there. I don't know, man. But you were right up in it. At the end of the night, nobody had to say, well, how come Kathy didn't say anything all night? So, we all react to social situations a little differently. And I've always been extroverted. I've always caused trouble. I've always given the teachers in the grade school the blues, and high school, not much different. I don't know, the judges. I was never reluctant to give judges a hard time when I thought it was necessary. I know people that looked at me. I did a murder trial, and I was challenging the judge at every turn because I thought he's being a jerk to me. And I was really concerned the jury would see me as a jerk, and it would contaminate the way they felt about my client, who was charged with murder that he didn't do, by the way. And my investigator dropped by to listen to part of the trial, and then during a break, he said to me, the other lawyer for the other defendant said, you're an ass. That may not be the exact word. And I said, well, what? He said, yeah, he was talking to his client. His client was out on bond. My client had been in jail. He said, you keep messing with the judge, and you're going to mess up the case for your client, because the judge is going to get mad at you, and it's not going to go well. Well, it's true. The judge stayed mad at me, and the judge, along with the co-counsel, or he wasn't co-counsel, co-defendant's counsel, were both pretty surprised when I got a not guilty and his client got found guilty. His client went to prison. My client went home. Okay. So I've never been too intimidated by persons that had seeming authority over me. Bosses, judges, cops. Are we looking at July 24th? I didn't look. Should I look, Kathy? Should we announce now that July 24th? I don't see any reason at the moment why we can't start looking at July 24th for this year's tribal gathering. Okay. Radine did not respond to me calling her a recluse, so she either left or she's agitated, or she just didn't care what I said. Anyways, it's about time to begin to wind it down. Here's a caution. If your world is confined to your home, generally to your spouse, maybe to your kids, I want to caution you, having been there, that when that disintegrates by virtue of aging, death or whatever, you may find your boat afloat without an anchor, right? So I think it's in everybody's best interest. Again, I'm going global and using us and we and they and them to nurture relationships with people that have time and inclination to be that person. You are reclusing, but you're fine. So thank you, Chris. Some of you have been in long-term relationships clearly far longer than I've ever managed. You know, my last marriage, I was with her for 17 years. We were only married a couple of years. I was with her for 17 years. That was more years than I had in all previous relationships combined. Add them all up. See, that one was 4, 3, that one was 2, that 8. Carry the 1. Yeah, 17 years was a lifetime more than I'd ever been in any relationship. And I was comfortable, and I planned on dying in that relationship. I thought, you know, we made it this far. We're going to get to the finish line. Wrong. Didn't make it to the finish line. Well, we made it to a finish line, but it wasn't the one I was planning, or that I thought we were going to make it to. Yeah, I've only proven myself time and again that dating somebody for 14 years is no indication of a successful relationship. Seriously, folks. Seriously. So, nurture. This is a place that I've been nurturing. This podcast for me has been yet one of many ways to create community, create a sense of caring by others of me, which creates in me a sense of caring about you, and will hold me, is holding me in good stead. Because I thought of this subject because I have spent so much time in the last few weeks warding off depression. It slams into you sometimes. Yeah, I can be brushing my teeth, man. Look at the mirror, and all of a sudden it's like, could you feel any worse about yourself? Could you have more despair than you feeling in this moment when all you're doing is brushing your teeth, and suddenly you feel like total loser? All man's purposes come to naught in death. Well, how about, and that's Heidegger, all man's purposes come to naught in life sometimes. I didn't want to be that person. So sometimes podcasting is just a way of getting out of self. I wanted to talk about 12-step recovery and why it works, but I never got around to that. It works because one of the ways it works is they really impress upon you to be of service to others. And in the process of being of service to others, getting out of self and not obsessing about self, we see ourselves in that better light. The Buddhists are the same way. The Buddhists really encourage you to get out of self, be wholesome. And I don't mean get out of self like don't look inward, because you do, but in your intentions, in your actions, get out of self, be of service to others, be wholesome, be responsible, develop good karma, and the good karma will enhance the way you feel about you, the way you are seen by you about yourself. So, Chris is absolutely right. It's time for meta. If you don't know what meta is, if you're listening on YouTube for the first time, you're on Facebook for the first time, you're hiding in the bushes like Joan does, put your hands together before your heart and bow your head, close your eyes as if in prayer. Or think of this as a prayer if it helps. And think to yourself, may I be happy, healthy, and free from harm. May I be free from anger, anxiety, and fear. May this practice bring me greater peace and comfort in my life. And may my mother and father, wherever they are, and all my living family and all my friends, be happy, healthy, free from harm. May you know the affection I have for you, and may you find the path that leads to a life of peace and comfort. And to those persons I have difficulty with, whether it's a resentment or ill will, whatever, I send them this goodwill, wishing that they be happy, healthy, free from harm, and enjoying their lives in this very moment. And may all living beings, wherever they may be, throughout the entire universe, humans and non-humans, be they the recipient of our collective goodwill and compassion. May all living beings be happy, healthy, free from harm. May all living beings live their lives in safety, comfort, and peace. Satu, Satu, Satu. And for those of you that didn't know, Satu means excellent, well done. All right. Thank you, Kathy and Rachel and Mark. And I assume Ann is there with you, so please convey. Joan, you were hiding. Ray Dean and Sean, if she stuck around, or Donna, if she hung around. Lisa, man, there was some nice people that dropped in. I don't know how many of you got to stick around, but man, I'm so glad you did. Yeah, Lisa, so young, such a youngin'. All right, kids. I'm going to go lead the meditation now because that's what I do on Wednesday nights. I leads meditation. Those are oars in the water that Mark included along with an exclamation mark. I think it's because he's a real water person. Okay. Peace out.